A couple of months ago, LinkedIn announced event ads. It's pretty similar to Facebook event ads, which we have a video for already, and you can watch that one right here. But it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have an event created on LinkedIn and you want to promote it to a particular audience, you can now do so with ads. So we're going to cover a few things in this video. First, we're going to go over how to create an event in LinkedIn. Pretty important. But probably the most important thing is going to be the second thing we'll cover, is making sure that you have the right access levels. You have to have a certain clearance in both the page as well as Campaign Manager in order to even run these campaigns. And then we'll walk through the rest of the campaign setup so you make sure you're ready for launch. So let's dive in. In order to create an event ad on LinkedIn, you need to have an event created. Big shocker, I know. But finding the place in LinkedIn where you can create an event is not as easy as it should be. The first step you should take is to go up to your top navigation and go back to your home screen. I'm already on the home screen, which is your main page feed, but you'll want to click on it if you're on any other page. And then we want to stick to the left-hand navigation and then scroll down. Underneath all my pages, we see recent activity and groups, and at the very bottom is the events section. So I'm going to go over and click on the plus button and start adding my own event. And here we get a pop-up where we can start making our actual event. I'll jump back up to the top in a second, but first I want to call out this organizer field I have right here. I'm not going to click on it to have the drop down because I'm going to have to blur most of it out. But since we're creating the event from our personal accounts, we have the option to select the organizer as any one of the pages that we have admin access to. So if you're managing LinkedIn campaigns for a variety of accounts, you can create the event for your client if you have the right access, and we will get to access levels right after this. So I'm going to just leave it as this one organizer. It's a page I created a long time ago just to make this demo easy. But then we can go and add some of the image elements for this event. Here we see we can upload a logo, and ideally it would be in a square format. Luckily enough, we already have a square image that we can use. If you don't, you do have the ability to zoom in or crop to try to make it fit within the square space that you get. If I move the arrow up over here, we can then upload a cover image for this specific event. And you can see it's a 4:1 aspect ratio. And just like the logo, you can move the image around a little bit, crop it to make it fit within this particular space. But next we can start going down to the details. And most of these are going to be pretty self-explanatory. First, we need to name our event. I just put in a random title. No, we do not have any sort of webinar coming up, or we don't have one recorded. So this is all for fun. Next, you can choose your time zone. By default, it shows the time zone that I am in and where I have my account created. But if you want, you can swap it and choose any one of the available time zones out there. Next, you can choose the start date and end date for your event. Something like a webinar is easy. Most likely it's only going to be an hour, a couple hours. Other events like conferences, whether they're virtual or in person, could last a couple days. Keeping this one as just an hour webinar, and then we can move on to the description. As you can see, we get up to 5,000 characters for this description. Do whatever you can to try to make your event seem as appealing as possible to make people want to attend. In my case with a webinar, I'm probably going to want to educate users on what they are going to learn, why this webinar is valuable for them, how is this webinar going to help them in their careers or whatever. So look at your own event and really consider why someone should want to attend, whether it's virtual or in person. You have a lot of characters to use, so try to maximize them as much as possible to make your event seem very valuable to that user. Next, if it makes sense, you can add speakers. This is an optional setting, so if it's more of a networking event and no one's speaking, you can skip this. But it's easy enough just to go into the field, search a particular name, and add it to the event. I'll add Michelle too, because she's in the hero image up top, and that was easy enough. Next, we can scroll down to the event settings. So you have the option to make the visibility public or private. Public will be the best option if you want to get as many users to attend this event as possible. Now, if you do select a public event, you have the option to use a LinkedIn registration form, and that's a way for you to collect user information from your event ad. You would just need to make sure that your privacy policy link is included, and then you can continue on creating this specific event. One thing I wanted to call it is the difference between a public and a private event. Now, this feature I'm going to talk about is only available for public events. In a public event, if someone clicks attend event, a lead form pop-up comes up, and the user can register for an event directly from the event page. Not all of your events have to send users away off to a different URL. Again, I'm just using dummy accounts, but the fields that pop up, which we don't get to control, will be company name, the country region, first name, last name, and then that person's job title. And when the user submits, that'll count as an event registration goal. So even though I selected private, using public events can be a great way to collect user information on the LinkedIn platform. But in my case, I don't want a ton of people seeing this specific ad, so I'm going to choose private. A private event can have a different feel, almost making it seem like a VIP section. This event is only visible to people you invite or if they have the specific link to the event. Anyone who's not invited will need the admin's approval to attend. And then an additional event setting right below is to decide if you want to allow attendees to invite their connections. I personally would use this one if I want to have it a public event and try to get as many people as possible, but we'll leave that one completely up to you. Next, looking at the location, you can say if it's a specific online event. If not, you can uncheck it. There you can enter in the specific address or venue. I said ours is a webinar, so I'm going to click the online event button again. And then you can go down and enter the link where people can register for the event. It says right there, it can also be a broadcast link. So if it is a virtual event where people can watch this event, add the link right in this field. And then the last thing is if it is a broadcast link, you can just select the final option we see. But if everything looks good, that's how easy it is to create an event. So let's go and create it. We see in the bottom left, our event was created successfully. And right away, LinkedIn has a share pop-up that's going to come from the actual organization page. It's not coming from my personal one. So then I can decide organically right away if I want to start promoting this event. And if I X out of this, I don't want to post it, so I'm going to discard it. And we go back up to our home button. We see in the events portion in the same area on the left-hand side, our new event is created. So now we can look at actually creating the campaign to promote this event with ads. But in order to start promoting an event, you first want to confirm that you have the right clearance within a few areas. Otherwise, you're not even going to be able to do this. So first, I'm going to hop into a LinkedIn page. I'm in the home section on this particular LinkedIn page. And let's say I want to make Michelle an admin so she can promote the event or edit it if she needs to. Within the page, let's go over to the right and go under admin tools. Then I want to manage admins. And then I'm going to add an admin, go up and search for Michelle. And here we see these options. So the first thing a user needs to be able to create a LinkedIn event ad campaign is they need to be a super admin on your page or at least a content admin on your page. We see an analyst can only view and export analytics. They can't manage any of the content, and that's what we need. So again, they have to be a super admin or a content admin. Another reason is that only those two levels have the ability to reply to comments, delete comments, or just disable them completely from the event. So I will save that one. So now Michelle's good from the page component, but she also needs a specific clearance within Campaign Manager. So now let's hop into there. When you're in Campaign Manager, find the name of your company, click on it, and then Manage Access. I'm the only one right now, so I need to click Edit, and then add a user to the account. Just like we did with the page, you can search for the name of whoever you want to add to the account. And then we need to choose a specific access level. Right now, Michelle's listed as a viewer. If I leave it as this, she would not be able to create an event ad campaign. She has to be at least a campaign manager, or I can bump her up to the full account manager. It's got to be one of these two. I'm going to leave it as campaign manager because this is my account, and then we can save changes. And now we can start creating our campaign. So I'm going to close out of this, and here we can go and create a campaign. Since this is a demo account, we just use it to make these videos. I only have the one campaign group, but when you're managing this campaign, either for your company or for your clients, make sure that you're selecting the proper campaign group. Then we can click next. One thing I didn't do on the previous screen was name my campaign, so I'll do that one really quick. And now we can look at our campaign objectives. As of the time of recording this video, there are only 3 objectives that allow you to run event ads. The first is brand awareness in the left column, and the remaining 2 will be under the consideration column, either website visits or engagement. Now that I highlight all 3 of them, it's one of these 3 options. So for this video, I'm just going to choose website visits. Next, you can choose your targeting options. I'm not going to cover all of the options because we already have a video on LinkedIn targeting options, which you could check out right here. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to choose a specific audience attributes. There we go. I just selected a few job titles. Fine. It's a webinar about paid social. Good enough. I know there are other options like member skills that would give me deeper options that might be a little bit more closely related to what I named my webinar, but this is a fake event. I just want to keep moving. When we get to the ad format, the option is crystal clear. We need to choose an event ad. And when we do that, our audience expansion settings have been disabled because these ad formats will only run on the LinkedIn platform. So we can see the audience expansion option has automatically been unchecked. And if we scroll down to placement, the LinkedIn audience network option has also been unchecked. Next, we can select our budget. I can run a daily budget or a lifetime budget. In this case of a webinar, it might make sense. That is because with a lifetime budget, I will definitely want a specific end date. Now at this point, we haven't selected which event we wanted to use. So LinkedIn doesn't know what the end date is. And it doesn't know what time the event is. A little bit silly. I wish you could choose the event earlier just so the settings would automatically update. But if I remember correctly, I believe I had the event set for the 28th. So since I can't do a specific time and I don't want this campaign running for the entire day of the 28th because the webinar was done at noon, I'm going to change the end date to end the day before. So I have a lifetime budget of $1,000. Use that $1,000 for the 19 days this campaign would run. Hopefully you saw in the budget section, you do have a daily budget option, and you also have an option of a combination of daily budget with a lifetime cap. I'll keep scrolling and we'll get to bidding. Now what we can bid in terms of the optimization goal will depend on which campaign objective you selected. And even though we can only choose 3 campaign objectives for event ads, we do have another video covering all the campaign objectives for LinkedIn, and you can watch that one here. The next will be your conversion tracking. These conversion actions have nothing to do with an event ad, but they're the only ones I have created for this particular account. So I'll select those, but hopefully you have some way of tracking users when they sign up for the event. If it's on your website, hopefully you have a confirmation URL to track that user, but certain third-party tools like Eventbrite do allow you to have conversion tracking, which can make it easy. So make sure you set that up within LinkedIn, select it for this particular campaign, and then you can move on to the next step. Do I want to save it? Yes, I do. So now let's create our ad. You see the first 2 fields are optional. I always like to name my ads, even if it is optional, purely from an organizational standpoint. It may not be this broad of a name, but there it is. The second optional element will be your introductory text. You see for the introductory text, we get up to 600 characters. Maybe take your best value props that you use in your event description and use it in the introductory text to make people want to click on the next element, which is going to be your LinkedIn event URL. So I'm going to go back up to my other tab. I'm on my event page. Remember, you can find it if you click on the home button, scroll all the way down on the left-hand side, click on your event. I don't have the top of my browser showing within this video, but I'm going to go up and copy that URL, jump back into Campaign Manager, and paste the LinkedIn event URL within this field. Once I do that, then we get a decent preview. The first field, the ad name, is just for you. It's just for your team. So when you're going through and reviewing ad performance, you can see how each ad did if you do want to test different variants. And you can see in the introductory text where I said, please come to our webinar. It's right under the company name and right above the actual event. So if it's a short little sentence like I have, it blends in. And if you don't even use the introductory text, you really only need to create one ad variation because there's nothing that's going to be different. So that's how it would look on a desktop. And LinkedIn decide they don't have the capability to show me a mobile example of what I just created. So here's an example of what it could look like on a mobile device. Go back up, I'll switch back. And if everything looks good, you want to make sure it's added to the campaign, and then you can create. If you want to, you can go up and create another ad. You can do this for a couple reasons. Maybe you do want to test different introductory text, which makes complete sense. Or we've actually had a few clients that create a different event for each day of a conference. So then we can create one ad for day 1, because that's a specific event with a different URL. A second ad for day 2 also has a different URL for that event. It does seem like it's a little bit more work, but there were different speakers and different networking events on each of those days. So we wanted to promote them. And it also gave us a better idea of what interests people a little bit more. So you could save and exit, but I'm going to keep going and hit next. Go through, review everything, make sure it looks good, and then you can launch your campaign. So after your campaigns are created and they're running, you can use all the typical columns to really assess the performance. Whether you're focused on just engagement and driving traffic to the event page, that's one thing. If you're focused on conversions and leads, let's say you are sending users to a third-party sign-up page or another page on your website, you can review that. And then also if you go all the way to the right, you will see options for event registrations. Whether it's directly from the ad or you're building awareness that people are going back and registering for the event, again, that one's got to be public. You'll be able to review that information to see if it's making an impact. And that's pretty much it for event ads. The actual setup process of creating an event as well as the campaign is really easy. And while I mentioned in the intro, we can create event ads for Facebook, the professional targeting options we get within LinkedIn can make this a much more appealing option for any sort of business or professional event. I would actually want to test that out in LinkedIn before I even went to Facebook. So if you have a webinar, a conference, a professional networking event, consider boosting that awareness and attendance by creating a LinkedIn event ad campaign.
Thanks for watching our video. If you found it useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to see more from the Paid Media Pros channel, be sure to subscribe.